Let me ask you something uncomfortable. After your last losing trade, what did you do in the next 6 minutes? Did you sit back, breathe, and move on with complete clarity? Or did you immediately scroll back to the charts, heart still racing, telling yourself you just needed one more setup to fix what just happened? If it was the second one, this video might be the most important thing you watch this week. Because here's what nobody tells you about trading losses. The loss itself, that's not what destroys most traders. It's what happens in the 6 minutes after. That 6-minute window, the moments immediately following a loss, is where 90% of traders quietly, almost invisibly, begin to unravel. Not in one dramatic blowup, not in one catastrophic trade, but in a series of small, emotionally driven decisions that compound into something that wrecks accounts, breaks confidence, and eventually ends trading careers. And the brutal part? Most traders have no idea it's happening while it's happening. They think they're being rational. They think they're analyzing. They think they're just looking at the next setup. But their nervous system, their psychology, their brain chemistry, all of it is working against them, quietly, efficiently, ruthlessly. Today, we're going to break down exactly what happens inside a trader's mind in those 6 minutes. We're going to go deep into the psychology. We're going to name the biases, the emotional triggers, the cognitive traps that turn a simple losing trade into a spiral most traders never recover from. And by the end of this video, you're going to see your own behavior in a completely different light. Let's get into it. Point number 1, the cortisol flood. Your brain just declared an emergency. The moment that trade closes in the red, something happens inside your body that most traders completely ignore. Your brain registers a financial loss the same way it registers a physical threat. Not metaphorically, literally. Neuroscience research shows that monetary loss activates the amygdala, the part of your brain responsible for fear and survival responses, with almost the same intensity as a real physical danger signal. Your cortisol spikes, your heart rate increases. Your prefrontal cortex, the part responsible for logic, patience, and disciplined decision-making, begins to go offline. In plain English, your brain just sounded an alarm, and alarms don't encourage patience, they demand action. This is why in the 6 minutes after a loss, everything inside you is screaming to do something, anything, to get back in, to fix it, to reclaim what was just taken from you. Sitting still feels unbearable, not because you're weak, but because your nervous system has been hijacked by millions of years of evolutionary programming that was never designed for the stock market. The caveman who stood still after a threat didn't survive, but the trader who jumps back in immediately after a loss, he doesn't survive either. And here's the cruel irony. The traders who feel this most intensely are often the ones who care the most committed, the most passionate traders. Because the more you want to succeed, the harder a loss hits the alarm system. This is point number 1. And if you understand nothing else today, understand this. In the 6 minutes after a loss, you are not the same trader you were before the loss. Your brain chemistry has literally changed. Acting like nothing happened is one of the most dangerous things you can do at a chart. Point number 2, loss aversion on steroids. Why your brain doubles the pain. Here's something that behavioral economists have studied for decades. The pain of losing is psychologically twice as powerful as the pleasure of gaining. This is called loss aversion, and it's one of the most well-documented cognitive biases in human psychology. Kahneman and Tversky proved it. Traders live it every single day. But here's the part that makes the 6-minute window so dangerous. When you take a loss aversion doesn't just make you feel bad. It distorts your perception of risk. Suddenly, setups that you would have passed on 10 minutes ago start to look different. Not because the market changed, but because your brain is now operating under a desperate need to neutralize the pain as fast as possible. That next candle forming looks like a reversal. That breakout you would have waited to confirm feels obvious right now. You're not seeing the market more clearly after a loss.
You're seeing it through the lens of a brain that is trying to escape discomfort at almost any cost. This is how revenge trading begins. Revenge trading isn't about anger the way most people describe it. It's not always loud and aggressive. Sometimes it's quiet and calculated feeling. Sometimes it feels like discipline, like you're getting back to work, like you're being resilient. But under the surface, you're not trading a setup. You're trading your pain. And the market has absolutely no interest in relieving your emotional state. The market does not care that you just lost. It does not owe you a recovery. It will not offer you a clean setup just because you need one right now. But loss aversion tells your brain otherwise. It creates this invisible psychological pressure that makes entering another trade feel logical, justified, even responsible. That's the trap. And in the 6 minutes after a loss, almost every trader steps into it without even realizing the door was open.
Point number 3, identity threat, the loss that isn't just about money. Let me tell you about something that doesn't get talked about enough in trading psychology circles. For most traders, a loss isn't just a financial event, it's an identity event. Think about how you talk about your trades. I got stopped out. I was wrong. I missed it. I got destroyed today. The language is personal because for most traders, trading performance and self-worth have become deeply tangled together. When the trade wins, they feel capable, intelligent, and in control. When the trade loses, it doesn't just cost money. It costs confidence, identity, and self-image. Psychologists call this ego involvement. When our sense of self becomes attached to outcomes we can't fully control, every negative outcome becomes a personal verdict. Not just that trade didn't work, but I am failing. I don't have what it takes. Maybe I was never good at this. And in the 6 minutes after a loss, this identity threat floods in before rational thought even gets a chance to respond. This is why so many traders can't just sit with a loss. Sitting with it means sitting with that verdict, sitting with the fear that maybe the loss means something about who they are. Re-entering the market immediately is, psychologically, a way of appealing the verdict. Let me prove right now that I know what I'm doing. Let me show the market, or myself, that that loss was a fluke. But here's the thing. Trading to protect your ego is one of the most expensive habits a trader can develop. The market doesn't grade you. It doesn't see you. There is no court of appeal where you can prove your identity through a winning trade that follows a losing one. The traders who break this pattern are the ones who learn how to separate their performance from their personhood. They understand that a loss is data, not a verdict, not a reflection of intelligence or character, just information about what the market did in a specific moment under specific conditions. That shift, from loss as identity threat to loss as neutral information, is one of the most powerful psychological transformations available to a trader. But in the 6 minutes after a loss, when cortisol is flooding and loss aversion is screaming, that shift takes real practice discipline, and most traders haven't trained for it. Point number 4, the illusion of control. Why you feel compelled to act. Here's a psychological principle that explains why the 6 minutes after a loss feel almost physically impossible to sit through. Humans have a fundamental need for control. When events feel out of our control, anxiety rises sharply. And our brain will often manufacture a sense of control, even false control, just to reduce that anxiety. After a losing trade, control has been violated. You had a plan. You had expectations. The market rejected both. And now your brain is doing something fascinating and destructive at the same time. It's telling you, if I just act right now, I can fix this. I can regain control. I can steer this situation back to where it should be. Opening another trade immediately after a loss creates the feeling of agency, the feeling of taking the wheel again, even if that wheel is disconnected from anything real. Psychologists call this the illusion of control, the tendency to believe we have influence over outcomes that are largely outside our power. In trading,
This manifests as the belief that another entry, right now, at this specific moment, will somehow correct the trajectory of your session. It won't. Because control in trading isn't found in the next entry. It's found in the quality of your decision-making process. And your decision-making process 6 minutes after a loss is one of the most compromised states you will ever trade from. The traders who understand this stop chasing control through action. They chase it through stillness, through protocol, through stepping away, resetting, and returning only when they can honestly say their mind is clean. That's not weakness. That's the highest form of trading discipline.
Point number 5. The 6-minute protocol that changes everything. So, what do the elite traders do differently in those 6 minutes? Because the psychology doesn't just vanish for them. They feel the cortisol hit too. They feel loss aversion. They feel the identity sting and the desperate need for control. The difference is that elite traders have built a protocol for exactly this window of time. Not a vague intention, not a general awareness that revenge trading is bad. An actual, specific, practiced protocol that activates the moment a loss occurs. Here's what those 6 minutes can look like when they're intentional. Minute 1. You close the trade and you do not look at another chart. You physically step back from the screen. You take 3 slow, deliberate breaths. Not because breathing is magic, but because controlled breathing is one of the fastest, most clinically validated tools for reducing cortisol and reactivating the prefrontal cortex. You are literally beginning the process of getting your brain back online. Minute 2, you ask yourself one question. Not, where can I recover this? Ask yourself, was that trade taken according to my plan? If yes, the loss is part of the process and there is nothing to fix. If no, you need to understand why before touching another position. Minutes 3 and 4, you write. You keep a trade journal, even a single sentence about what just happened. Not what the market did, what you did. What you felt going in, what you felt at the moment of loss. Writing creates cognitive distance. It moves the experience from the emotional centers of your brain into the analytical centers. It transforms a raw emotional event into observed data. Minute 5, you evaluate whether you should continue trading today at all. This is not a sign of weakness. This is professional risk management. Emotional impairment is a real, measurable condition that affects performance. The question isn't, am I too emotional to trade? The question is, am I in the state that my best trades come from? If the honest answer is no, then the most profitable decision you can make is to close the platform. Minute 6, if you do continue, you return with a clean checklist. Not a feeling, not urgency, a checklist. Does the next setup meet every criteria on my plan? If it doesn't tick every single box, it doesn't exist. You don't see it, you don't consider it, you let it go. 6 minutes. That's all it takes to go from unraveling to resetting. But those 6 minutes have to be trained. They have to be practiced until they become automatic, until your protocol fires before the emotional spiral even has a chance to build momentum. Closing. The 6 minutes that define your trading career. Here's what it all comes down to. Every trader loses. There is not a single profitable, professional, consistently successful trader alive who doesn't have losing trades in their history. Losses are not the exception to the trading journey. They are part of the road itself. The question has never been whether you will lose. The question is, who are you in the 6 minutes after? Are you the trader who lets the cortisol drive? Who follows loss aversion into a revenge trade? Who defends their identity through impulsive action? Who manufactures the illusion of control by clicking buttons while their brain chemistry is working against every good decision they've ever made? Or are you the trader who pauses, who breathes, who journals and evaluates and asks the hard, honest question, am I in a state right now that serves my trading? That choice, made consistently, is what separates the 10% from the 90%. Not strategy, not indicators,
not risk-reward ratios or exotic setups. The 6 minutes. Most traders will read about this, understand it completely, feel it resonate deep in their chest, and then the next time they take a loss, they'll go right back to the charts. Because awareness without protocol is just information, and information alone does not change behavior.
So here's your challenge before the next session. Write down your 6-minute protocol tonight, not a general intention, specific actions, minute by minute. Breathe, ask the question, journal, evaluate, checklist. Practice it even when you don't need it, so that it's automatic when you do. Because the market will test you again. It always does. And when it does, those 6 minutes are waiting, either working for you or against you. The choice is yours before the loss ever happens. If this video hit home, if you recognized your own patterns in any of what we covered today, consider subscribing. Because this channel exists for one reason: to give traders the psychological edge that strategy alone can never provide. The mental game is the real game, and we're just getting started. See you in the next one.